everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. This is going to be the astro weather for the following week ahead. We're going to be taking a look at the astrology from December 4th through the 11th of 2022. Hopefully you guys are doing well. We have got an action-packed week. Obviously, major headlines. We've got Mercury and Venus both entering into Capricorn. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and I'm going to take that through the 12 rising signs at the end of my spiel about the week ahead. We'll take a look at where that's really lighting up, getting something organized, done, and talking more about reorganizing something, because that is the sign that Mercury will retrograde through later this month. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm a Western astrologer with an emphasis in taking a look at the Sabian symbols. I work with not just the Sabian symbols, but also tarot and what I see clairvoyantly in my sessions. We do all kinds of content on the channel. We have horoscopes, we have moon videos, videos throughout the week, and live readings every Saturday night. So make sure you're subscribed so you're alerted as to when we have new videos coming out. We've seen so much growth. Big thank you. And if you're new, make sure you leave us a comment below and give us a shout out and let us know where you're tuning in from. Basically, highlights of the week would be, outside of this very action-packed full moon in Gemini, which is going to be conjunct Mars, we've got some more mutable squares, and we're going to see Mercury and Venus changing signs. We will have Mercury shadow beginning at the end of this week. So it's not really going to be taking place until closer to the 12th, but I'm throwing that out there because by the time I do my next weekly video and talk to you guys about what's coming, we will already be in Mercury shadow. So I want to let you guys know that now. If you want to sign things, make agreements, talk about buying cars, any of the mercurial things, this would be the week to do it, prior to seeing Mercury coming into shadow. And once it comes into shadow on the 12th, we're going to start seeing a little bit of the turbulence prior to the Mercury retrograde. Now, if you want me to get specific, you can wait till the end of the month when it turns retrograde, but because it's going to be so close to Venus and Pluto, I would recommend some more positive Mercury transits this week. We'll talk a little bit about maybe when Mercury is making a trine or a sextile to something, so you can pick a good day to sign stuff or just agree to things so you can avoid that shadow period, okay? So let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's talk about today, December the 4th. Obviously, moon is in Taurus, so we have come out of some of the transits that we have seen just previously. A lot of the confusion that we've seen with the moon moving through Pisces these last couple days and then finally into Aries. The moon is at home when it's in Taurus, so it's exalted there. It's a little bit more comfortable. So we'll find that just, moods and emotion are a little bit easier. The moon during this day will come into contact, obviously, later in the evening. It'll come into contact with the North Node. So the moon touching its own node seems to symbolize getting stable, getting secure, focusing on nourishment, financial matters, things of that nature. But we know that when the moon goes through any of the fixed signs this year, it's going to get kind of banged up because it'll aspect Uranus, it'll aspect Saturn, it'll oppose the node. So just pay attention to emotions in the afternoon hours today, especially going into the evening. It does look like that moon-Uranus conjunction is going to take place overnight, so we kind of get a little bit of a reprieve here. Looks like the moon touches the North Node early morning, and then early in the morning, going into the morning of December 5th on Monday, the moon is coming into conjunction with Uranus, so it'll be quite early here on the West Coast, but on the East Coast, and those of you guys who are ahead in terms of time zones, just take warning. That moon-Uranus conjunction is very emotionally destabilizing. So we may see fluctuations going on with food, resources, with markets, anything that really is connected to banking as well. That moon-Uranus conjunction can also bring some emotional irritability, right? It wants to break free in some way. Not a comfortable aspect, considering as it comes out of the conjunction with Uranus, it is also going to be squaring Saturn. So not the easiest day on tap the morning of the 5th. Now, the same day, we're also going to be seeing that Mercury in Sagittarius, it's coming into the late degrees of Sagittarius, is now coming into a square with Jupiter. Now, you guys have heard me kind of compare aspects almost to like different planetary energies. So squares, that hard 90-degree angle, where it's making an aspect to another sign that's in the same mode, basically means that there's some kind of pressure, right? So Mercury squares is the mind being under pressure, the pressure to change how we think, how we transact, how we get around, because Mercury is about movement or sharing of information. So kind of like mind on overload day, you know, overloaded with information, overloaded with emotions, and global news kind of hitting a peak. Obviously, the energy is getting quite wild because we're also coming into that full moon in Gemini energy. So watch for tall tales on Monday, watch for over-exaggeration, watch for big news involving global travel, definitely things revolving around airplanes, but I think we're going to hear more news revolving around people's really big perspectives when it comes to culture or even clashes in religion. That's going to be a big theme around the whole first half of December. And in all honesty, if you guys saw my horoscopes, I talk about how like the first 2 weeks are just like wholly mutable squares, pun intended, and it's a little bit confusing. So we're still kind of making our way through the cosmic soup. Anytime we see squares to Jupiter also, it feels inflated or it feels like it's larger than life, and Jupiter is hanging out in the late degrees of Pisces. Pretty soon it's going to be leaving Pisces and heading back into Aries. So it can be this feeling of there just being more static in the air, or there being more emotional or psychic kind of sensitivity. You might kind of feel your spidey senses that are kind of kicking up with that Mercury-Jupiter square. The moon in Taurus, obviously, like I said, it's going to keep moving through the entire day until we get into the evening. And it's going to hit a square to Saturn. So right around the 4:30 Pacific time in the PM, kind of coming into 5 o'clock, it'll be the evening on the East Coast. We're going to see the moon square Saturn. So that also kind of, it's like a punch to the gut, you know, in terms of just being able to emotionally relate. We've got some really strong energies with the moon being in its exaltation in Taurus and Saturn being in one of its ruling signs. So whenever we see an opening square, it's like we're not really sure how to make the adjustments that we need to when it comes to our food, our finances, what have you, to kind of better get it into alignment with what our goals may be, right? Or just what's going on in terms of, you know, collective groups. This could also be in terms of big business or perhaps even like government. So look at what's going on financially in the news around the 5th, because likely between the moon Uranus conjunctions and the square to Saturn, we're going to hear something about changes in banking resources, possibly even interest rates. That could be something else. And there could definitely be some turbulence going on in the market. All right, so obviously this goes without being said, not the easiest day for meetings. Great for like strategizing and like thinking big and like getting a bunch of ideas out there on the table. But things could almost be too good to be true with Mercury coming out of a square with Neptune and kind of hanging out in a square to Jupiter. Let's wait till we get Mercury into Capricorn where it's able to kind of talk business, you know? So let's take you guys now to the 6th. This will be Tuesday. And on the 6th, Mercury is going to be entering into the sign of Capricorn. Looks like that's going to be happening later in the afternoon. Capricorn is the cardinal earth sign traditionally associated with the 10th house. So things like responsibility, bosses, career, work scheduling, anything that deals with like transactions also in the workspace, or it can be about business meetings. It can be about financial planning in regards to budgeting at work. And this is the sign that we will see the retrograde. So just keep in mind that as we get to the mid-December period and we see a whole slew of planets move into Capricorn and then a Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, Capricorn's going to be a very active area of all of our lives here pretty soon. But like I said, Mercury's not in the shadow yet. It's going to take a little bit of time for Venus also to kind of catch up as well. Eventually in that retrograde motion, we're also going to see Mercury turn retrograde in conjunction to Venus. So in the back of our minds, come the end of December, there's going to be this re-evaluating. Do I love my job? Am I making the most of my resources? How can I strategize and practice more maturity when it comes to responsibility, or just staying on task, or making the changes necessary at work to find something that we really love? Now, I'm working on another video for you guys. I'm going to put that out probably in the next week, just to kind of give you my longer format take on the Mercury retrograde and what that's going to be looking like clear into January of 2023. You got that right. The new year starts with a Mercury retrograde. But I'll give you guys a hint. It's very similar to the Mercury retrograde we had at the very beginning of 2022. So there can be some similarities, although I will let you know Venus won't be retrograde. So it's not going to be as kind of hectic as it was in the new year. But I told a lot of people, watch where you're at beginning of 2022, really set your goals when it comes to applying yourself to making changes in responsibility or your career. Make sure you're making those changes, because a year from now you could find yourself in the same situation. So for those of you guys who've been saying, I'm going to change the job, I'm going to mature in this area of my life, I'm finally going to file my taxes, like whatever it is. Or if you did not apply yourself and really focus on your New Year's resolutions, they're coming back up for reevaluation here 1 year later. So Mercury enters into Capricorn. That'll be on the 6th. We're going to see the moon in Taurus earlier in the day, making a nice aspect actually to Pluto. So let me take this back. There we go. So right before the moon is making its shift in the morning to Gemini, the moon's going to make both a sextile to Neptune. Also, it'll make a sextile to Jupiter. So we're kind of building on our dreams. We're manifesting, visualizing, praying, chanting, doing whatever it is we do to just rest and reflect, to really think about how we're kind of utilizing our energy or our resources. And so I like that moon trine Pluto, because personally, that's one of the nicer aspects we're going to see before we come into the full moon in Gemini. We'll also see the moon sextile Jupiter. So there's a lot of like, I feel good, I feel solid in my body and with what I'm really visualizing for the future. There is a sense of also really learning to tune into the spiritual health and the effects that it has on the physical body. So working with grounding techniques, meditation, rest, recuperation, anything that is connected to also water. So like soaking or swimming can be really helpful as well. Same day, later in the day, we're going to see the moon enter into Gemini, and we are coming into that full moon energy. So moon enters in the afternoon around 2:30 Pacific time on the 6th, and we are just going to watch the moon really not make many aspects at all, other than that in conjunct that it's making to Mercury, but this will be very brief. Mercury in conjunct with the moon. So there can be a sense of like not knowing how to communicate what our goals and what our plans are. Both of those are at 0 degrees. Personally, I think it's going to be an aspect that's going to happen so quickly that many of us may not even notice it, but it's worthy of mentioning that when it comes to expressing our ideas and our thoughts and also being able to like actually commit to them, it can seem a little off, but a very quick moving aspect. So that's it pretty much for Tuesday. Let's now take you guys into Wednesday the 7th. So we wake up in the morning. Let's take it like around 8:30 a.m. And one of the things that you guys are going to be feeling off the bat, this will be the evening of the 6th going into the morning of the 7th. And it's very strongly tied to this full moon energy, but obviously Mars in Gemini, which is still retrograde, is in opposition to the sun. So there is this kind of like having to stand up and fight for something or having to push through something, working with the energy of the sun in Sag to keep the optimism, to expand, to go beyond, to learn or dive deeper into something. And Mars oppositions in Gemini indicate like we have to sign something, make a phone call, we have to go somewhere. Very busy day. Just the moon and Mars into conjunction in general makes us a little emotionally aggravated. But when we see this in opposition to the sun, you know, just, I would say to everybody, take it easy around this full moon. Rushing places by car, rushing to sign contracts, get emails out, make agreements, things like that will come up because we see that connection between Mars and the moon. But with the opposition to the sun, it's more like, do we say what we're thinking? Do we say what's on our mind? You know, do our beliefs and our words line up? Like, you're going to see a lot of this throughout Sagittarius season. But all day, that's quite impactful energy. We're not going to see the full moon until later in the afternoon. But like I said, yeah, the Mars-Sun opposition does make it feel a little fierce, and the Moon-Mars conjunction makes it feel combative. So there can be some road rage, there can be some short tempers, there can be some angry text messages. Just keep that in mind as you move throughout the 7th and really into the 8th as well. Now, later in the afternoon, we see this full moon perfect, and this is going to be happening right about 16 degrees. So Mars will be exact. That'll be taking place in some parts of the world. It'll be the late afternoon. On the West Coast, it's going to be in the evening, closer to about 8:30. My advice is, you know, obviously this is kind of like a midweek thing. Going out and about and trying to rush around places and traveling and doing things after work. Like, if you know you have to run an errand, just wait. Get it done before, or do it, you know, the next day. Do it on Thursday in the evening or over the weekend. This is kind of like a moon that I'm not telling you to hide out, but just be aware of your surroundings, because Mars cuts, burns, it fights, it can be combative, and it can also be something that can be dangerous. Now, specifically, I think more about like fires, home fires as well. I hate to say that, but because this is associated with degrees that are connected to either flames and things within the home, or heated situations with family members, real estate, people quickly having to move. That's something I'm anticipating we're going to hear a lot about. Or people who are quickly on the move, looking for new places that they can go to. Watch for exchanges with people within the household and relatives as well. If you want to know how that impacts you personally, check out my full moon in Gemini video. I take it through the 12 signs and talk to you guys about my hot takes on what that's going to be bringing. Thankfully, later in the evening, we will see the moon come out of that conjunction with Mars, and it's going to start building into a trine with Saturn. So it's happening over the evening. It's going to be in the early morning. I do think we're going to definitely feel some full moon fallout that will be happening. We'll feel this clear into the 8th. Full moons, we can feel them a couple days prior to a couple days after. So you want to look at about 3 days on each side for that full moon to really kind of appear in your life. Remember, it's a climax of something you've been working on really since the end of May of 2021. So, 2022. So this has been in the making for about 6 months' time. But we will see early in the morning that whatever kind of like burned down, or whatever, you know, fight happened, or whatever passionate, heated exchange took place, it is now trining out through Saturn. So it's saying it happened because we had to facilitate our goal. We had to facilitate something we've been working towards. And when the moon and Saturn are in harmony, we know that we're able to kind of stabilize plans and feel more so emotionally secure. The downside is, as the moon continues to move through Gemini on the 8th, this is on Thursday, it is going to start coming into a square with Neptune. So emotionally feeling a little conflicted, or not knowing how to resolve some feelings, not always knowing how to express our emotions because the moon is in a mercurial sign. We will also see the moon continue to keep moving, and it's going to come into an opposition with Venus, which leaves us wanting and needing more, feeling conflicted between what we're feeling or thinking, or what's going on the home front, versus resources and also relationships. And that is going to create another mutable T-square, because we've got Venus at 28, we've got Jupiter at 29, and the moon will also hit 28 and 29 degrees as well. So even though the moon is making that aspect, it's going to bring Jupiter up as the focal point of that T-square. Now, earlier this week, I did a video discussing about just how all these T-squares and mutable signs feels like Alice in Wonderland. It's like super topsy-turvy, and we can be really dreamy and idealistic, but there can also be a sense of detaching, not knowing how to respond to things, kind of withdrawing a little bit. and possibly being a little overly idealistic or dreaming a little bit too big. This energy is presenting itself again the evening of the 8th. So I want you to be mindful that that moon aspect is going to bring all of this stuff up again. And it can be this feeling of like, you know, dreaming big. But it can also be this feeling of being very emotionally overwhelmed because you're feeling like something is changing. So just a heads up to the mutable signs, you know, let's say 27 to about 29 degrees, you guys are still feeling this. There is some stuff that's still getting worked out through some of these squares. But it is going to be easing up, okay, once we get planets out of Sag and Jupiter's going into Aries. It's then going to be all about the early degrees of the cardinal signs who are going to start feeling the pressure at the second part of this month. So everybody gets a turn in the cosmic merry-go-round. That moon coming out of the square with Jupiter makes me feel like things are going to stabilize. Obviously, the moon changing signs is also good because we come out of that full moon energy. But just watch for like feeling like you need more, feeling like really emotionally lacking in some situations. When the moon opposes Venus, we're kind of torn between relationships and nurturing ourselves, and it's going to square Jupiter. So I have just interpreted this energy this week as getting overwhelmed, trying to feel like you're getting all the ducks in the row, and there's a lot of going back and forth between relating to other people and also kind of covering our own bases, right? So we can get really overwhelmed trying to overextend ourselves for other people, or vice versa, being so consumed with what's going on with ourselves that we can have a tendency to overlook our loved ones. So it requires a little bit more awareness this week when it comes to really showing up and being able to be available for others and looking beyond ourselves. The moon's going to then late in the evening on Thursday, it's going to move into its home sign of Cancer. So we're going to wake up in the morning on the 9th, and the moon is going to be in Cancer. So it's going to be a little bit more comfortable. However, the moon will immediately start making aspects by coming into an opposition with Mercury. So it's like, this is how I'm feeling, but I have to go to work. You know, I'm going through something personally and I'm feeling the need to kind of retreat or focus on security, but I got to go to work. So we may feel just off the bat responsibility for home and domestic things, and where we're being torn because we have to, you know, really show up and we have to get work done. Yeah, it's the end of the year. So obviously like that last 2 or 3 weeks of the month, like not everybody wants to just totally grind everything out, right? But what we're going to find is that it's about preparation. You know, the moon is still in a square to Jupiter. So you'll feel the square from Jupiter that's like trying to get you out of your comfort zone or trying to keep you from sleeping in and getting out of the house so you can go to work. So you'll feel that tug of war a little bit, especially if you're within the first 5 degrees of any of the cardinal signs. But for the most part, having the moon in its home sign is a lot better. This same day, we're going to see Venus at 29 degrees of Sagittarius square Jupiter at 29 degrees. So this is Friday the 9th. I could go one of two ways with this. Like if you really got to have a date night, the Venus square Jupiter can be wonderful. Especially Venus in Sagittarius square Jupiter in Pisces. I could see some people who are like making some very significant, extravagant travel plans. This could be the time that's like, actually, I'm going to book first class to fly back home for Christmas. You know, indulgence is what comes to mind with Jupiter, which is sweet, and it's about money and resources and relationships in the sign of Sag, which deals with travel. So people are going to be a little bit more likely to indulge in travel plans or upgrades, possibly spending also a little bit more money on gifts or education, books. On the flip side, this would not be a day to book airfare, because I can just see based off of Venus square Jupiter, we might see some inflation, right? Obviously, many of us know if we're traveling for the holidays, doing it probably at least a month in advance is ideal, but I would not recommend it this day because of that square. And we can feel like there is like this turning point in relationships or finances or relations because Venus is in a square to Jupiter. For some, it can be extra sweet. It can be really lavish gifts, excellent date night, you know, especially if I think of like cultural things, like if you're wanting to do something that's very different, if you're wanting to try a different cuisine, if you're wanting to get out of town and go somewhere new, this would be an excellent weekend to do that. And anything that's going to involve possibly either being by the beach or just having just a very different kind of culture around you can be really fun and really exciting. So you guys might actually like that. Let's see. So also on Friday, we see Venus, just after this aspect, she is going to leave feisty Sagittarius. She's going to move over the afternoon into Capricorn. So we've got both Mercury and Venus, the mind and the heart, in an earth sign. So we go from things being very action oriented in Sag to grounded, stable, mature, practical, quality. These are some of the themes that we see with Venus in Capricorn. There can be a sense of maturity and tradition. So you guys might notice that there's just more emphasis on that. And also just more kind of logical and practical as well. We see that with that sign. So these two placements, Mercury and Venus, they're going to move pretty closely side by side, and they're going to come into conjunction when we have the retrograde at the end of the month. So you'll notice that there's like a serious kind of turn to when we're talking about business or money or relationships as a result of those planets moving side by side. Okay, so that's it for Friday. So let's take you guys now to Saturday. And we wake up on Saturday the 10th, and the moon is starting to come into a trine with Neptune. So that'll be like over the afternoon going into the evening. Moon trine Neptune, divine, connected, feeling inspired, very sensitive, very emotional. While it's doing that, the moon will also be making trines to the south node. So there's this emotional clearing and kind of purging that's going on at the same time. Let's see. And then also what we're going to see is the moon is going to be forming sextiles to the north node and Uranus. So we're adjusting to whatever was going on while the moon was in conjunction to Uranus. So you're going to reflect back on Saturday to Monday, and you're going to go, what was that emotionally destabilizing thing? Or what was that sudden payment or this freak out that I had? Okay, now I'm kind of combating, you know, or I guess coming back from that. I'm able to kind of bounce back from that. So that's a nice aspect because it talks about emotional changes and adjustments and feeling a little bit more comfortable. Not too many other aspects on Saturday, so that's going to get, you know, it's going to be a pretty easy Saturday. Moon in Cancer might have people wanting to stay home, being around family, like doing domestic things, stuff of that nature. And then we're going to move into Sunday. And this will take you guys through next week's astro weather. And then we're going to see that this is going to be a moon trine Jupiter day, actually. So we wake up in the morning and the moon is coming into a trine with Jupiter. You might notice overnight, because the moon was in a trine to Neptune, that there is just more dreams or we're feeling a little bit more sensitive. That's very possible. We're going to see also the sun in Sagittarius is beginning to come into a sextile with Saturn. So this is nice because we feel like our optimism, our expansion, our growth, our travel, what we're learning is helping funnel positive energy into what our goals are. So you want to look at where Sag is in your chart. The actions taking place there are going to fully support wherever Saturn and Aquarius is in your astrology. Obviously, yes, as we get into this next week, the sun will come into a square with Neptune. We're going to start seeing the sun also square with Jupiter. So that'll be the last of the mutable squares, but that's just more, I think, about being sensitive and being willing to kind of drop the ego when it comes to whatever it is that we're thinking about life in general. The moon will enter into Leo later in the day, so the energy is definitely going to shift. That's going to be a nice shift, actually, to see like the sun in Sag and hanging out with the moon coming into a trine over the next couple of days, both with Chiron and and the sun in Sag. So it's going to be a little bit more spicy, a little bit more active. But yeah, Jupiter at 29 degrees, man, this whole week. This will be the last time in our lifetimes that we're going to have both Jupiter and Neptune in the same sign. So just a reminder to everybody, once this change happens where it goes back into Aries, it's going to have a different flavor. So right now it's more spiritual, it's sensitive, it's impacting our emotions, it's impacting our routines in terms of like our spiritual upkeep and maintenance, but it's going to like almost go into overdrive when it goes into Aries and it hits that 0 degrees again. So still an important period of time, the next 2 weeks, to be really taking time to meditate and reflecting and not wigging out with these mutable squares and being focused on visualizing and creating the life that we want to live and not spiraling and going into the Pisces pandemonium. This is your heads up. Also, by the time I do next week's show, which will be on the 11th, it'll be a day before we go into shadow. So shadow period of Mercury retrograde will begin on the 12th of December. That's when Mercury hits 8 degrees. That means it will retrograde back to 8 degrees. So this is your week to get your stuff done. If you need to do any Mercury related things, do it. Take a look at what house you have Capricorn in. That is where the Mercury retrograde is going to begin. And I will tell everybody who's starting their Christmas shopping, again, make sure you save receipts. Make sure if you're buying big ticket items, you save receipts. Make sure if you're buying gadgets, you get extended warranties. Make sure everything works, because there's going to be some people who aren't going to like what they get, or there's going to be some malfunctions with some things, because that's just what happens. Back up your hard drives, read the fine print, all of that stuff, and keep in mind that it's not just gadgets, it's also things like transportation. So when you're booking flights, double and triple check connecting flights. Make sure you confirm all of your reservations, and also please make sure that you guys are, doing the tune-ups on your cars and all that stuff that you need to do prior to the Mercury retrograde, okay? All right, that's my spiel. So let me take you guys through the 12 signs. I'm gonna show you exactly where both Venus and Mercury are moving through Capricorn for you. Now is a great time to pull out your chart and take a look. So as always, I'm a Western astrologer. This is gonna be for whole sign predictions. You wanna take a look at where Capricorn is in your chart. Listen for your ascendant sign first. That's going to tell you physically where Mercury and Venus are moving through. And keep in mind that Mercury is about the mind, information. This is where it will retrograde, so you want to pay extra close attention. Venus is about what you love. It's about adding some sweetness, relationships, or even prosperity. So having these two particular planets go through Capricorn, throughout its transit, it'll touch on Pluto retrograde, and it will also make trines to both Uranus and the North Node. So there's lots of positive opportunity, I think, with the Mercury retrograde to kind of work with it, because it's going to make so many aspects to planets and placements in Taurus, okay? So listen for your ascendant, listen for your sun sign, listen for your moon sign. You might find that there is a little bit of truth in all of them, and they help you kind of better plan the month ahead. All right, so this is going to be for my Aries and Aries rising. Hopefully you guys are doing well. All right, guys, so here's the deal. You have both Venus and Mercury that are entering into your 10th house. Your 10th house deals with your career, your reputation, your responsibility out in the world. Sometimes it can deal with one of your parents, but it can also be about a boss or your public reputation, okay? So you've got planets that are moving to the top part of your chart. Now, in your horoscope, Venus rules your relationships with other people and your resources. So Venus going through the 10th house is basically saying you may have to see clients, you might have to partner with people, you might be discussing business and financial planning, or job planning, or negotiating or reorganizing something in regards to budgets. It can just be year of the end planning as well for business. Mercury, which rules your schedule, and it also rules communication. So, later this month, you will see that Mercury will retrograde through your 10th house. So those of you guys who want to take time off of work, perfect time to do it. Those of you guys who want to retire, if you're looking for a new job, or if you're planning on switching positions, or maybe you're going to get wind that there's changes at work with the schedule that's happening, it's very likely. You may get wind that meetings are going to start happening about this pretty soon. So just the fact that you've got both of these planets coming into contact and Mercury that will retrograde, very significant in your 10th house of career. So this is where you're going to see kind of the most action that's going on for the month ahead. Next up, we've got Taurus and Taurus rising. What's going on, Taurus? Hopefully you're doing well. We have got both Mercury and Venus moving into Capricorn in your 9th house. So this is a sister sign, which means it's going to be harmonious for you. You're going to experience trines either to your sun, moon, or rising. Earth trines are about stability, physical changes, and things kind of harmonizing with your ascendant. So this is very positive. Also, we have your chart ruler, Venus, moving into a new sign. So this is important because where Venus goes, it's what you're doing. So Taurus and Taurus risings, having Venus move into your 9th house might put a highlight on teaching, education, travel, anything in regards to publishing, law, anything of that nature. You might be planning travel. You might be planning something in regards to working with a teacher or a mentor, and it can be a good omen for legal things. Now, Venus also rules your 6th house. So interesting that the 6th house can do with legal stuff and settlements, and the 9th house can deal with dealing with lawyers. So if you're in a situation like that, the Mercury retrograde can definitely sort through any issues with delays with legal standings, but also delays pertaining to programs, teaching, publishing, that kind of stuff. Now, Mercury rules your money, your investments, your self-esteem, and your resources, your spending power, and your 5th house, which deals with children, creativity, and having fun. Those of you Taurus and Taurus risings who have like a project that you're working on that's bringing in money, that might be something that's just like extra or creative, especially if it involves education or travel. Like this seems to be kind of highlighted here for the next month. Mercury will go retrograde through your 9th house. So you may find that you are stuck at an airport, delayed somewhere. You may find that you can't quite get the class that you were hoping to kind of get, or that there is some kind of shift that's going on with what you're spending on travel, what you're spending on education. This can also relate to your children because children is connected to your 5th house. It can also be that you're learning a new hobby, or there's something that you're investing in to be able to kind of perfect something when it comes to your career. So if you've been wanting to take like a licensing exam, or if you're wanting to get certified for something, that could make sense as well. And as Mercury goes retrograde, like I was saying, just be very mindful with what's going on with travel. It may mean that you need to reconnect with a mentor, reconnect with a guru, or travel somewhere that you've been before. But definitely double and triple check any of your travel plans, because there can be some issues with reimbursement, okay? Good luck, Taurus. Gemini rising, hopefully you're doing well. We have got Mercury that has moved into Capricorn in your 8th house. Now, this is important because Mercury is your chart ruler. It rules both you and your body, the 1st house, as well as your 4th house and your home. So for Mercury to move into your 8th house, there is this talking about changing and transforming your investment, your involvement perhaps with your home or even your family. Now, Mercury will retrograde later this month through this part of your chart, which seems to indicate there can be some changes with your joint resources. Those of you guys who need to like reevaluate your joint resources or your spending, if you're wanting to make some changes to a loan, or if you're wanting to do some debt consolidation, if you're wanting to try to go back and finish, paying taxes or finishing filing taxes. If you have not done that, that may come up. But also there can be a sense of looking at refinancing or reevaluating your budget when it comes to home, especially with you and another person. Now, Venus is going to be in this house as well, which deals with lovers, creativity, and children, along with also your ruler of the 12th house of what's unseen. So it's possible for those of you guys who are self-employed, you're trying to find a way to drum up more money, you're trying to figure out a way to kind of cut back on expenses and pay things off, and bring new life or new resources or investors into your own creative business. Also, if you guys have children, it might be a time where you're talking a lot with a partner about what you can do to kind of up your spending power together, so that way you can make changes physically within your home and possibly make space either for a creative office or for children. The other side of this transit is as Mercury goes retrograde conjunct Venus, it's possible that you are talking about things that are going on with estates, wills, insurance, right, and inheritances. So that can be something that comes up for you guys as well. Good luck, and pay extra attention to the Mercury retrograde because it will affect you. We have got Cancer and Cancer rising. Hopefully you're doing well, Cancer. We have got Mercury that has first moved into your 7th house in the sign of Capricorn. So 7th house is about relationships. Now, Mercury rules your 12th house of the subconscious and your 3rd house of communication, short distance travel, texts, emails, and also vehicles. So it is possible as Mercury goes through your 7th house, you're having conversations and you're hashing out what's been on your mind with other people. If there has been miscommunications with clients, business partners, romantic partners, this is going to come out into the open. It's also possible that you may have a dream or something that kind of gives you a clue into what might be happening in your relationship. Now, because Mercury also rules your 3rd house, it might mean that people who you have not communicated with or connected with in some time, like partners from the past or miscommunications with siblings, there is a sense to smooth things over. Now, Mercury will go retrograde later in the month in your 7th house. And personally, this is very important for you, Cancer, because it will come into close contact, not just with Venus, but also with Pluto. Now, Pluto has spent we're talking almost 20 years in your 7th house of relationships. And so for Mercury to go retrograde really close to Pluto, I think is asking you, is it time to finally put something to rest? Especially if you've had anxiety in relationships, or if you've been thinking about finally committing and getting married, if you've been thinking like it's time maybe to go to couples therapy or counseling. I've seen many Cancer risings that have had, positive awakenings in their relationships as a result of the Pluto transit. So it's not all doom and gloom, but pay attention to how you're communicating with your partner and reading between the lines and seeing all the things that are not said. You have plenty of time to work out some of this relationship stuff clear into January. Be mindful and be wary that people from the past can come back, especially because Mercury is going to be so darn close to Venus. But it's not limited to romantic partners. Like I said, communicating, connecting with friends or even relatives that you have not spoken with in some time is very likely. Now we've got Leo and Leo rising. What's up, Leo? How's it going? You have got both Mercury and Venus who have moved into Capricorn, and it's moved into your 6th house of work, health, and daily routine. So first we have Mercury that moves in there. Mercury deals with money, resources, but I think in your case, it's not just about money. I think it's about self-esteem. I think it's about what you're eating. Mercury also rules your 11th house of friends and goals, right? So you've got Mercury that's hanging out in your 6th house. So it's things like, how do I better organize and manage my resources? How can I get the most bang for my buck and find an effective way to eat healthy or work out? It may also be a time where you're focusing on scheduling and closely monitoring and budgeting your money so you feel like you can go and socialize and not break the bank. Now, Mercury will go retrograde through this part of your chart later this month, and that seems to indicate that there can be a changing of offices, there can be a change in your habits and your health. So you might find that you may fall off and you backtrack into old habits and you wind up smoking again or not eating as well. So you might have to be more aware of the tendency of kind of regressing in some of these behaviors, and it can affect your health. On the flip side, if you're somebody who's been meaning to get back to the gym, finally rescheduling a doctor's appointment or getting the dog to the vet, this can be a wonderful time for you to do it. Now, Venus is also going to be in this house, and Venus is connected with communications or neighbors, sometimes siblings, as well as work. Personally, I feel like this might be for some of you guys adjusting to a new work schedule, getting a feel for the office, learning how to kind of communicate with new staff members, maybe even possibly switching positions or changing branches. For those of you guys who have been negotiating, taking a new job, you may actually secure the deal and find that you're starting something very soon. And for those of you guys who are looking to take time off, a Mercury retrograde in the 6th can do that as well. So if you're in between jobs and you want to kind of ride out the end of the year and start in the new year, that may happen. But pay extra close attention to what's going on with your health. I'm less consumed with work. I'm more focused on making sure that you're taking care of your health, you're not overworking, and you're finding a lot of opportunities to make changes in your life-work balance, okay? Good luck, Leo. For Virgo and Virgo rising, we have got both Mercury and Venus moving into your sister sign, Capricorn, and it's in your 5th house. So where Mercury goes, it's important for both you and Gemini because it rules your chart. So Mercury has a strong connection to your body and how you communicate or your health. Mercury moving into Capricorn in the 5th house has you feeling creative, wanting to play games, wanting to take chances, thinking more about dating, and just expressing yourself, right? This is a great house for also just romantic relationships, things that you create, or children. Now, Mercury later this month will retrograde, and that will affect you because there can be a sense of doing a little bit of a do-si-do when it comes to figuring out who and what you love. Those of you guys who have been thinking about launching your own business, you might get in the process of organizing that. Those of you guys who have been back and forth with the dating scene, trying to make a decision between whether or not you want to date someone or if you want to get back into it, that could happen as well. Now, Mercury does deal with your 10th house, and I know that Mars is going retrograde there. So for some of you guys, it might be like, do I love this job? Does it make me happy? Do I, possibly want to start my own thing and see if I can start branching off and do both? That's possible as well. But for those of you guys who have children, it can just be about kids needing more attention, you needing to be more attentive to them and taking care of them. You've also got Venus there. So Venus is connected to money and resources. It's also connected to knowledge and learning. So some of you guys might be feeling like you have to spend more money because you'll be traveling with children. Some of you guys might actually have love at a distance and you have to spend a little bit to go and visit with them. Maybe it's about booking a trip or a vacation with a loved one as well. I could also see, because Venus rules your 9th house of education and it's moving through your 5th, those of you guys who want to legally open your own company, if you want to, do some training or certification for a hobby so you're feeling a little bit better, finely tuned in that area, I could see that taking place for you as well. But the Mercury retrograde is very personal for you, Virgo, because it involves your chart ruler, and it's all going to be about what do you value, what do you love. Make use of this retrograde, because if you're a Virgo rising or if you have several planets in Virgo, you will experience grand earth trines and it's going to be very helpful for you. Okay. So figure out what you love. It's all about what you love this month. For Libra and Libra rising, we have got Venus and Mercury that have moved into Capricorn in your 4th house. And if you are any of the cardinal signs, right, so Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn within the first 10 degrees, this is going to feel a little loud. So you guys have all been warned. But Venus rules your chart, Libra. So if you're a Libra rising, Venus is what you want to watch, because it's going to talk about where you're going and what you're doing. So you've got Venus moving into your 4th house. Venus in the 4th house is about home, family, comfort, decorating, home goods, things of that nature. So there can be a sense of you adding a little bit of sweetness to the home. So baking things, having family visit, decorating for the holidays, all of that stuff is going to be an emphasis for you right now. And we've also got Venus being the ruler of your 8th house. So it seems like you're playing an active role in changing or transforming something about your resources, your roots, your private life. Now, it can also deal with loans and funding and financing regarding a home or a home project. So for those of you guys who are anticipating renovating something, or if you're going to be adding an addition, or if you're going to be, doing like a overhaul of a bathroom, or you're selling a house or buying a property, or you need to come up with a deposit for a new apartment, this says that you're really active in that area of your life. Now, Mercury is also in your 7th house of Capricorn, and Mercury rules the 12th house of the unseen, things that go on in the bedroom, or things that are going on at night, things that can make you kind of anxious. Mercury also rules the 9th house of education and law and legality. So Libra, I'm wondering, is there something going on where you're having trouble sleeping? Are you kind of up thinking about something? Are you working long hours? Are you dealing with people in other time zones? It also is possible that when Mercury goes retrograde later this month and it comes into conjunction with your ruler, that there is this reorganization of your home. So some Libra risings are going to be finding that they have to do an evaluation of their home, or there's something going on with the foundation, or there's something they need to fix in the house, or you're buying or selling your house or your home and you're moving to a new property. Obviously, you'll see this kind of take place later in the month. If it's not that, then it's just a change for you emotionally and with your family dynamic. Some family members might have travel delays and issues coming to meet with you. And you will see that these aspects will trine the North Node in the 8th house. So there's something changing about joint resources, money, taxes, inheritances, savings as a result of some connection to property. Okay? Good luck, Libra. Scorpio and Scorpio rising, hopefully you're doing well. We have got both Mercury and Venus that have moved into Capricorn in your natal 3rd house. So Venus in the 3rd house has sweet communications, opportunities to, add some nice touches to vehicles, pick up new cars, possibly buy new gadgets. It's also really great because it does seem to indicate that communicating with other people when it comes to business and it going more positively, right? So Venus rules your marketplace, your 7th house, but also your marital partner, your relationships, your business partners, your clients. So there can be a sense of you just having to communicate more with these people on a day-to-day basis. So there's more emails, there's more meetings, more phone calls. Great time to do a road trip, get out of town, also have conversations with relatives. And if you want to make a change in vehicles, I recommend doing it before you get to next week, okay? Although Mercury will retrograde in this part of your chart as well. Now, Venus, before I get to Mercury, Venus rules the 12th house. So there is a lot of envisioning and talking about what you're anticipating in terms of your 3rd house with a partner. So it can be great for like strategizing, thinking about new sales opportunities and projects or things that you can be writing or learning with another person. Mercury is also in this house, and Mercury rules your goals, your friends, right? Anything that deals with socializing. It also rules the 8th house of transformation. So it seems to me like you're talking a lot about how you're open to changing and transforming your mind. And there's definitely this huge shift going on with what you think and how you communicate with other people, because Pluto's been in this part of your chart for a hot minute. So Mercury going retrograde later this month through the 3rd house tells me that you are going to be reevaluating, renegotiating something with a partner in terms of what your goals are moving forward. Both Libra risings and Scorpio risings are the ones who are most likely to be anticipating moves or changes going on with the family. Similar to Libra rising, I'm going to tell you, if you're planning a move, double and triple check everything. Make sure you have all of your reservations. Make sure that you feel comfortable with the neighborhood that you're going to. Make sure you communicate well, read all the fine print and the contracts for leases or anything involving vehicles. Be very careful. It's not a time I would recommend Scorpio risings buying cars because of the retrograde in conjunction to Pluto. So I would say it's probably a time to be open to rethinking something in terms of a move or a vehicle. And let's wait until we get to the second half of January before you do that, because there can be some bumpiness, okay? But stay open and communicate the best that you can. Now we've got Sag and Sag rising. What's going on, Sag? We have got Venus and Mercury that have just moved into your natal second house in the sign of Capricorn. So Mercury, right? Information, communication, hanging out in your second house of money and resources. So you're focused on what your spending power is. You might have to have larger purchases this month. There may be a sense of you really grinding to bring in the resources. Mercury rules your 7th house of relationships, partners, and also clientele or your marketplace. So there is a sense of you like letting people know, hey, I have this service, or, you know, I'm open for business, or this is what I'm selling. And it can be a wonderful growth opportunity for you financially. Venus also rules your 11th house, which deals with friends. So there may be a sense of like networking with other people, getting the word out that you have services or that you have availability to work with other people, or just be spending money, you know, with people socializing. You might be spending a little bit more money on food or anything in regards to just like party favors or decorations. We also have Mercury that is in the 7th house. So I kind of said that a little bit backwards. So let me start with Venus again. Venus is in your second. It's connected to your 11th and it's connected to your 6th. So this is more spending time and money with friends. And then Mercury, which rules your 7th house of relationships and also career, is talking about what you can sell and like the money that you can make. So you might be working with a group of people. You might be finding that there is like some collaboration with holiday parties and what gifts people are giving and what you're spending. There can be a sense of also reevaluating what your values are, what your self-worth is, what you're eating, what you're spending, because later this month, Mercury will go retrograde through this house. So for Sag risings especially, this is a time to really look at what money is going out and be really reevaluating what your spending habits are and your budgets are, because you may, knock on wood, with a Mercury retrograde here, find that you're having client fallout or you're having some challenges when it comes to your money and your resources, and that there is some unexpected expenses that kind of come up, which can hinder you when Mercury goes retrograde because you feel like you have less spending power. On the flip side, this can be a time where you're reevaluating what your salary is, you're reevaluating your self-worth, you're reevaluating your service fees. So for those of you guys who are up for, getting a raise, or those of you guys who are thinking about raising your prices, the retrograde going through this house later this year makes me feel like that's exactly what you're going to be doing, kind of reevaluating what you offer other people, and whether that's, from your clients or working for a company, and trying to find a way to negotiate bringing in more money and resources so you're making the most of your time, okay? Because it'll trine Uranus in the North Node in your 6th. So be mindful of making changes with what you're spending and what you're eating. Stay open, because I think this is an opportune time to really kind of lay the groundwork to actually feel more financially secure. Good luck, Sag. So now we have Capricorn rising. Obviously, this is pretty significant for Capricorn risings and suns, moons as well, but particularly the Cap risings. So you have got both Mercury and Venus that's in your first house. Being that these planets are in the first house, they're very pronounced, right? They're very obvious. They're kind of loud and they're bright. It's going to be like a right now, very quickly type energy. So when planets are in your sign, it's almost like you're feeling like you can be yourself. You can be the most authentic, and people are going to see that a little bit more. Now, Venus on your ascendant, especially if you're within like the first 10 degrees, having Venus on your ascendant is perfect for taking a photo, taking a headshot, anything in regards to just like bringing more attention and more beauty to you. Typically, I would say like, yeah, make all the beauty changes. Yes, if you do it prior to like the 14th, because keep in mind, Mercury will retrograde on your ascendant. So pretty much from mid-month all the way to mid-January, it's not the time to be like, I'm cutting my hair and I'm having bangs, or, you know, I'm going to throw away all my clothes and buy a bunch of new stuff that's really bright and it pops and it's got different funky patterns because you may not like it. So just sticking with the Mercury theme here, you're going to be feeling like you can speak out more, you can communicate more. It's a great time to be telling people what your goals are, because Mercury is associated with your goals or your beliefs, 9th house, and it's also associated with your 6th house of work and health. So looks like you're telling people, this is what I believe in, this is what I have time for, this is what I'm organizing, and also learning more about your health and learning more about your body. Now, Mercury will go retrograde later this month, so it is possible that Cap risings, both because of a Mercury retrograde in your first and also because of a Mars retrograde in your sixth, are having a period of needing to kind of bounce back, maybe healing from something. You can be feeling a little under the weather. That could potentially have an impact on your ability to take a class, teach a class, or travel. So please do not be working too hard overtime. That sun's hanging out right now in your 12th house, and you're about to have a full moon in your 6th. So a lot of Capricorn risings I could see could be getting sick. So really take care of your health, okay? Specifically your lungs, Gemini. Mullein is a great herb that you can be taking in like liquid form. So those of you guys who are having like all these, it seems like everybody's sick. Everybody's got some weird respiratory thing going on. Mullein is great to help kind of clear some of that stuff out, as is plantain. So just some stuff that you guys might consider. Venus is hanging out in your sign. So like I said, really beautiful. It's about looking great, feeling your best, bringing in more attention, and really just feeling the love. Venus rules your 10th house of reputation and career, and also your 5th house of creativity. So in the off chance that you guys do end up getting sick, I hope not, or the off chance that you guys do feel like, okay, I am just so discombobulated, you know, that Mercury retrograde, I don't know how to communicate, I don't know what I believe in, I can't get on a schedule, at least you're looking good. And also there is an opportunity, if you do take time off of work, or if you are taking time to reflect and figure out what does make you happy, it's a great way to do that with Venus in your first house, because you're thinking about what's going to bring me joy, you know, if it's doing something creative, if it's taking a dance class, taking an art class, and doing something that you're going to feel like is going to kind of give you a bit of a break in routine from what your day-to-day schedule typically is. So if you're just totally sucked into working all the time, I encourage you to do something fun. It's going to definitely take your time away from being distracted and overwhelmed with what's going on at work. It may also improve your health. And in the off chance that you guys do get sick, you might end up doing like a paint by numbers, or you might end up like focusing on a hobby or taking time to just like, you know, rest and recover, but doing something that is going to keep you busy and keep you entertained. So it could be like crossword puzzles and other things like that. But yes, please, no big changes to your appearance. This is a really big period for you, Capricorn. Watching Mercury at the end of the month go retrograde, conjunct Venus, which is what are my goals? Where is my career going? Very close to Pluto. You're realizing that you're changing. You're about to graduate from your Pluto transit here. You're going to see just the glimmers next spring of it leaving your first house, and you're going to see a new and improved, transformed version of you. I like it. We've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. We have Mercury going retrograde at the end of the month. That'll be in your 12th house. But for right now, both Mercury and Venus are just entering into your 12th house, and that is in Capricorn. Now, Mercury, which deals with the mind, going through the 12th house off the bat makes me feel like there's a lot of reading in a dark corner somewhere, wanting to watch TV by yourself, wanting to go be out in nature, working long hours in an office, strategizing and negotiating business deals. That's very Mercury in the 12th, especially Capricorn, but it's very strong for psychic intuition, divination, dreams. I look forward every year to Mercury going through my 12th house. I've gotten lucky. I've had 2 years where I've had a Mercury retrograde there, and both periods have brought very profound dreams for me that were very helpful in being able to understand what was going on in my life and also interpret the future. Keep a notebook by your bedside table. That's the best advice I can give you. That way you can interpret some of the dreams that you're having. Can it bring anxiety? Yes, but if you learn how to kind of taper that, by finding that you can bring more elements of earth into your bedroom, put some plants in there, put some crystals in there. Do not be working in your bedroom. That's your 12th house. Mercury retrograde there is saying, time to feng shui your bedroom and get a little bit of better rest, okay? Mercury rules your 8th house, which deals with change, transformation, other people's resources, and your 5th house in regards to creativity, lovers, and children. So those of you guys who have a dicey romantic situation going on, you could lose some sleep over it. You could be like, what's going on? What are they not telling me? What's happening? Some of you guys who have children might feel like your kids are losing their mind and you're like, this is driving me crazy. This kid's not going to sleep, or I'm really worried about my son or my daughter because they're going through X, Y, and Z financially because of the rulership connected to your 8th house. So you might have kids that are telling you that they need more resources, or romantic partners saying they're stressed out about money. That retrograde will hit later in the month and you're going to kind of sort some of that stuff out. This is a very important period for you, Aquarius, because you are going to see a slew of planets go through your 12th house. This is the cosmic clearing that's going to be happening just before your birthday. And it's also a time to kind of really get your act together in preparation for Pluto to go into your sign next spring, Saturn to be leaving. Aquarius risings are ones to watch. We're going to be seeing a total change and transformation of you, your power, your appearance, and also Saturn moving into your 2nd house where you get really serious about getting stable and making money. So many of you guys are still working behind the scenes, getting all of your work stuff in preparation for 2023 because there is like a big launch that's coming. So don't be burning the candle at both ends, please. And know that, the help of a guru or a mentor or some kind of spiritual practice, as well as being able to take time and reflect on your emotions, is very important, because likely your philosophy or your belief about either relationships or your home and family are changing in a very, very big way. Good luck. And last but not least, we've got the Pisces. Hello, Pisces. Hopefully you're doing well. We've got both Mercury and Venus that are entering into Capricorn, and that's moving through your 11th house. Your 11th house is your networks, your organizations, your friends, parties, socializing, having a good time, but it's also about your goals. So you may find that there's more of a need to reflect on your goals more than usual. Now, pretty soon we're going to see not only a Mercury retrograde in your 11th house, but the sun will enter there as well. That's going to be a very busy time for you socially. Lots of holiday parties, get-togethers, office parties, things like that. It looks like you're going to have a good time. Mercury is associated with both relationships as well as home. So I could see that maybe you're reconnecting with friends that you haven't seen for a while, inviting them to your home, having, get-togethers and having meals as well. It can also be a time where you're talking to your family or your friends about your goals in regards to relationships or your living situation. Now, Mercury will go retrograde at the end of the month, so we want to watch for miscommunication with friends, but it's also possible that friends from the past can pop up that can really be beneficial in figuring out your goals or connecting you professionally. Venus is in this house as well, and it'll be here for a little bit. Venus is connected to communication as well as joint resources, so I kind of feel like the right friends who are supposed to pop back in will, the right business associates, the right people who will connect you, or even getting back involved in a professional group or an association can be really helpful for kind of putting you on the map professionally. You may have to, phone a friend and reach out to somebody and ask for a connection or ask for them to kind of vouch for you to be able to become a part of a club or an association. But it can also be about reconnecting to a network or an online group or participating in something that's really going to broaden your visibility and also really allow you to be able to connect and communicate and talk more about resources and what's most valuable to you. But for the most part, it looks like it's going to be fun, to be honest with you. Just watch out for potential miscommunications and squabbles. I recommend staying out of the drama that's probably going to happen on social media circles. So you might see some people saying some crazy stuff in terms of their belief system. And there can be some interference from others in terms of just being able to kind of communicate and express what your belief systems are. Other people might challenge that. So don't be participating in that online, okay? I really think it's also positive for you as well, because it can be a wonderful time where you can be introducing friends to romantic partners or vice versa. People can set you up, or you can go to a party and you may actually just have a chance connection with someone. So that looks positive for you as well. Stay tuned. Like I said, guys, I'm going to be doing another video that's going to be in depth in terms of this Mercury retrograde. I'm putting that together right now to put out later this week. I hope you like the content. I hope it's really helping you guys through some of the transits that are going on. Just a few things about the channel. I'm going to be back this Saturday. We're going to be doing live tarot readings. That's going to be on the 10th. I'll put the link up in a couple days. So if you guys want to sign up in advance to get a donation-based tarot reading, please join us. You can sign up early. That'll be on Saturday, and that's going to be at 7:00 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you there. Just a reminder also, Astro 201 signups, they are still available. You can sign up for my live sessions. I'm going to be teaching all about making predictions with astrology. So it's the next step of my astrology program. Everything from transits to solar return, lunar return charts. We're going to talk a little bit about synastry, progressions, you name it, to really kind of zoom in and see where the charts can be showing us what's coming up in the future. So if you want to learn some of my personal techniques and how I make some of the predictions I do, join me. It'll be over 8 weeks every Sunday morning. We're going to do it in my live digital classroom. And I'll be doing that presentation for you guys weekly and teaching you guys astrology. So if you want to sign up for that, you can click on my link below. You can go to my website and you can sign up. Space is limited. I only have a certain amount of students that I'm going to be accepting for each class. And it's not too late if you guys still want to pick up my Astro 2023 calendar. It's right behind me. It's perfect if you guys want to give a gift for someone, or if you want to pick up one for yourself. It's available in my store. You just have to go and click products and you'll see that. I also have gift certificates. So if you want to gift the gift of a reading to someone, or if you want to ask for that, you can find that under the same page as well. And as always, if you want to book with me, click on my links below, go to my website at beyondtheveiltarot.com. You can see my live schedule. I'm usually booked 2 to 3 months out at a time. I'm booking now into March of 2023. So if you want to get a reading, you can either catch me on my lives on Saturday night, or you can sign up in advance for a live session on Zoom with me. All right, guys, that's it for me. Enjoy this week ahead. Hopefully it's a good one. I'm really digging the Venus and the Mercury shift into an earth sign. It seems like things are going to stabilize a little bit. Just watch out for that full moon. I will see all of you guys very soon. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Take care.